An AEW talent got knocked out during the recent TV taping. Plus, former and current superstars are keen to face John Cena. And we have an update on a major feud heading into SummerSlam. It's all in the Cultaholic Wrestling News right now. So you wouldn't have noticed this if you've watched Collision by now, but there was a really scary moment during the match between Roderick Strong and Dalton Castle, the winner of that match, challenging Mark Briscoe at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. What happened, Jack?
Yeah, so AEW were actually forced to edit the finish of the match, which aired on last week's Collision after a scary incident, as Tom said. Fortunately for all involved, though, last week's show was taped on the Wednesday rather than airing live. And the incident itself happened towards the end of the match, where Dalton Castle appeared to have been knocked out by Roddy Strong's jumping knee attack. Roddy makes the cover, and as you watch it on Triller, the referee counts 1, 2. There's then a camera cut, and then he counts to 3. Now, apparently what happened in reality was that Dalton Castle didn't kick out when he was supposed to because he was shaken up by the knee itself. He is then said to have been on the canvas for several minutes, that's according to Dave Meltzer, before Strong redid the pinfall attempt, and they just counted the 3, and he got the win, with the 2 pinfalls then being kind of stitched together in the edit. And given the circumstances, and obviously the most important thing is that we hope Dalton Castle's okay, but given the circumstances, I think AEW's editing team did as good a job as they could have done.
Yeah, because it was, as you say, like the referee was the one that held up the counter. This was talked about on Wrestling Observer Radio today. Dalton didn't kick out, but the ref had to count the 3 because Dalton wasn't getting up. I think the plan was meant to be, there was some concern, obviously, that he was out cold, and that's why you've got that weird camera cut. So we obviously send our best to Dalton Castle. We haven't had a full update on how he's doing after that. Fingers crossed that it's nothing too severe, and it's something that we'll hopefully see him back in a Ring of Honor ring very soon. As a result of that match, the main event for the next Ring of Honor show, Death Before Dishonor, in a couple of weeks' time, is Mark Briscoe versus Roderick Strong. And it's another great example of a match that has been fabulously built on Ring of Honor, on Honor Club.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it hasn't in any way, shape or form.
No, unfortunately not.
Great job, everybody. You're all
heroes. I feel bad
for
for the wrestlers because they go out there and steal the show. They still put on wonderful matches. Or try to. But, you know, the best matches, or the ones that get the fans most involved, are the ones with a good foundation of storytelling. And that's really, I think most people agree, that is what's missing from a lot of Ring of Honor, with the exception of the top of the women's division, where Athena continues to just do sterling work.
Oh, she's fabulous.
And I'd just like to see that consistency, obviously, throughout the Ring of Honor card.
I think that's all we want to see, really. It's just that we don't want to get to these Supercard Art of Honor and Death Before Dishonor and these Ring of Honor pay-per-views, and it's almost like the creative team go, oh, God, it's a pay-per-view next week. Yeah. No one told us. Yeah. Less of that, please, and thanks. Now, in other AEW flavoured news, there was a lot of conversation about Natalia's future, because it looked as if that she wasn't going to be sticking around with WWE, her contract expiring and all. And it turns out, according to the Wrestling Observer Radio show, Natalia did get some interest from AEW. She has since re-signed with WWE, but there was plenty of interest from the other side. Now, this is obviously they would, because she is very much a vet. Well tenured. Someone that could easily guide a whole locker room of a women's division wherever she would go.
In both a wrestling and even a non-wrestling role behind the scenes, I'm sure she's got a wealth of knowledge to share with everybody too.
Really, yeah.
They stressed on that Wrestling Observer show that Natalia never actually entered free agency. Her contract was ticking down, and there was all the reports as it got closer to that deadline. But before her contract had expired, WWE went to make sure to lock her up, says Dave Meltzer, before her contract expired. She had gotten a really good offer back in May, but that was after she'd just re-signed with WWE.
So she's sticking around WWE despite some clear interest from All Elite Wrestling, and no doubt other places would have showed some interest in bringing in Natalia as well. Last night, the interest here on this green and pleasant land was the Euros, and spoiler, football's not coming home.
No, not yet.
Not yet, no. Maybe another 4 or 5 years. It's taking the scenic route. Now, MJF used the misfortune of England last night, the Three Lions, to further his work with Will Ospreay.
He did. He took to Twitter initially in the build-up to the final, and I've said here he kind of mangled the specifics a little bit, but he got the general point across and can probably claim deliberate ignorance as a heel. That's because he said, time and time again, the British prove that they can't win when put under pressure, whether it's the Euro Cup or this Wednesday. Englishmen just aren't equipped to be athletes. Now, obviously, there is a difference between being British and English. Myself and yourself are British and English, but I think that a lot of Scots and Welsh people and people from
Swindon,
and even people from Merseyside, Owen Mawson probably would say he's Scouse, not English. But I think that, there is a difference between British and English people. I don't think it's the worst thing that MJF got that wrong, because he's a heel. He's meant to be ignorant and doesn't care, and whether or not it was deliberate, I don't know.
I don't know. So he's had some fun at their expense. As the final whistle went down and Three Lions' dreams went down the Swanee for another year, he put out a lovely post saying, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, that was his follow-up. Now, I don't think this is just MJF kind of meaninglessly seeking heat, as he is often guilty of doing. I think it's fair to say he's got quite a scattergun approach sometimes to getting heel heat, especially now he is heel once again. But this, I think, is quite canny by MJF in this specific instance, because, of course, his current feud, and the reports suggest it's building to a big match at Wembley Stadium at All In, is, as Tom mentioned, with Will Ospreay. So it's only going to add fuel to the fire, I believe.
We had a WWE live event weekend in Mexico, a show in Mexico City and one in Monterrey. We talked in the first news video about Stephanie Vaquer making her WWE debut at those shows, but there was possibly some signs of what's to come for the world champion at those shows as well.
Yeah, one of the best things about live events sometimes, particularly big ones like these ones in Mexico this past weekend, like ones at Madison Square Garden, for example, is that you can sometimes use them as... Well, WWE seem to use them sometimes as a bit of a sounding board for potential future plans. Damian Priest, as you may have noticed on WWE TV, has been recently acting more and more like a babyface, especially since becoming World Heavyweight Champion. He's been refusing offers of help from the rest of the Judgment Day, and he's expressed real frustration at only seemingly retaining the belt thanks to the constant interference of CM Punk when it's against Drew McIntyre. Also, his relationship with stablemate Finn Balor has become tense in recent backstage segments, fueling speculation of maybe a split and a feud in the near future. At these recent live events in Mexico, Priest beat Jey Uso on both nights in a singles match. And after one of those matches at least, there is footage of Damian Priest helping Jey Uso to his feet in very sporting babyface fashion. And Jey Uso is a former rival of the Judgment Day as well, so it's not for nothing, Tom.
So we think maybe there's a little something there, something that maybe give an indication of where Damian Priest is heading, perhaps.
It was worth noting last week it was reported that Rhea Ripley is now listed as a babyface since she returned, but the rest of the Judgment Day are still listed as heels. I think that status for Priest specifically could change very, very soon.
Ooh, Judgment Day Civil War.
Maybe.
Let's do a thing.
Put your J's up.
JD, that's the one. We've got an update coming up in a minute on a major feud heading into SummerSlam. We'll do that in a moment, but one person who's going to be rolling through SummerSlam on his retirement tour is one Jonathan Cena, Wapadoo. And of course, lots of people have stated claim to having a match with John Cena on this retirement run.
Absolutely. We already knew that CM Punk expressed a desire last week. They were seen chatting backstage as well. I don't think many people would be against seeing them go one more time after their wonderful feud in the early 2010s. The Miz was speaking to Shaq Wrestling and said, I'm putting my name in the hat of people that want to face John Cena or be beside John Cena in a possible tag situation, because selfishly, I've been in the ring a lot with John Cena and I want more. That's how much fun it is getting into the ring with John Cena. And I also want our new talent to experience John Cena. It's always better when you have that guy there to teach you. And I really want our younger talent to just feel that energy.
Matt Cardona, speaking to SE Scoops, says, I would love to wrestle John Cena one last time. I think the way WWE is now, it's something that could happen where I could just walk in, whether it be for one day or make a return. Zack Ryder versus John Cena, those matches were fine. They were just what they were. John Cena versus Matt Cardona, that's where the story is.
I would agree as well. And Rob Van Dam, now this was reported by SE Scoops exclusively, but the news was set to appear on an upcoming episode of RVD's One of a Kind podcast. And he said, I hope they bring me in for a rematch with Cena. That would be super cool. I don't know if they know, but I know that I could have that same match as he did with Cena at One Night Stand 2006. Rob Van Dam very confident that he could deliver a similar level of match there, which would be no mean feat given that it's been nearly 20 years since that match took place.
A lot of return matches for John Cena on his retirement tour, but how about a first time ever? Joe Hendry, very much the man of the moment on the wrestling scene, speaking to Denise Salcedo, said, I believe I will wrestle John Cena. I fully believe that match will happen. He has recanted a story on Salcedo's show and on Chris Van Vliet's show about when he was a teenager getting a phone call from John Cena when his friend was at a VIP meet and greet after a show, and he had about a 5-10 minute conversation with John Cena. He said to Denise Salcedo, John Cena was the first pro wrestler I ever talked to. So for me to be one of his final matches would mean a lot. Now, Joe Hendry, I can confirm, prescribes to the same manifestation energies that I do.
Okay.
So Joe Hendry putting that out into the world, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. There's so much big stuff on the horizon for him. I think he's got about a year on his TNA deal.
Okay.
And from there, and the fact that he's turning up in NXT and and manifesting John Cena, I think we're going to see an incredible 12 months that might see him and John Cena.
I also think this isn't just kind of meaningless, shooting his shot from Joe Hendry, although nobody could blame him for doing so.
No way.
But I was there a few years ago when Joe Hendry wrestled Jake Hager in WCPW, and he very deliberately used his past with Jake Hager, where he was an extra on Raw, and Jake Hager or Jack Swagger as he was then known, kind of cornered him and grabbed him and roughed him up a little bit. And that was part of the video packages and everything in the build to that. I think if this match were to happen on the horizon, I don't think Joe Hendry would shy away from this very story of him receiving a call from Cena as a teenager. That would be a brilliant little mini feud.
Absolutely, he would lean into it. Lots of people putting it out there that they want to face John Cena as he looks to wrap up his career in the coming 18 months. Now we'll end on some stuff regarding SummerSlam, biggest party of the summer. Take a look at that poster featuring the Bloodline. Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
We're gonna go and sing about this car. Just a Grease reference there.
You are the one and I want. You are the fall of on. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's them. Now, we've got a potentially some stories about a big match heading into SummerSlam this year.
Yes. Now, obviously, everybody knows that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk are on a collision course. Possibly for SummerSlam, Punk's health and injury status pending. But Seth Rollins recently reignited hostilities with Punk on last week's Raw. This then fueled a bit of speculation that we might actually be seeing a three-way match between all three. We've got a bit of an update on this on the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, where they've said a triple threat with Seth Rollins seems unlikely. Despite the recent segment between Seth and Punk on Raw, this builds off what was reported in the last week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, which stated, from TV, I, Dave Meltzer, expected it to be a three-way with Rollins, but a three-way was not in the plans. Rollins having some involvement, though, looks likely. So that speculation of a triple threat kind of built over the weekend and has now kind of ebbed or flowed, one of the two, flowed away again. It now looks like if Punk's all right to, the big match on the horizon possibly is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth somehow involved.
Yeah, I think that match will just lead into, because we've got Bad Blood on the horizon as well, the return of Bad Blood. And it's the event that hosted the first Hell in a Cell. It's roughly around the same date, if not the exact same date as the first Hell in a Cell. Punk and Drew have the most aggressive story on the roster right now. It writes itself.
I think it writes itself.
Truly writes itself. I'm not the only one thinking this, because it's an incredibly obvious line of thinking. But it just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's wrong.
And I hope that this report from the Wrestling Observer Radio is accurate, because I think that it would be better to have these two heated feuds, one after the other or intertwining with each other, rather than kind of blow it all off in one triple threat match. I think the Triple H, the way he seems to have booked things so far, he seems to be very patient, very conservative, and I think for this story in particular, that's the way to go.
Hell of a story being told on our YouTube channel right now. WWE The Game is waiting for you. It is Jack the Jobber and Owen Mawson, Team England, facing Team Scotland of Fraser Porter and our beautiful editor, Pierce Graffin, as they were set numerous tasks by Taskmaster Energy-filled Adam Pacitti during Clash at the Castle in Glasgow.
It was an absolute blast to film, and I hope everybody, the response so far has been very positive. Thank you very much to everybody, and we had a great time making the video as well. Shout out to Fraser, whose idea it was, the whole concept of the video. Big shout out to Owen, who edited it together very speedily, given the massive footage he was left with to cut between and everything. And shout out to Pierce as well, because I don't think he'd ever been in a speaking role on a video, and we very much threw him in the deep end there. So thanks to all three of those guys. Hope you all enjoy it, and give it a watch if you haven't.
If you enjoy it and watch it and it goes well, we'll make more.
Yes.
That's it. That's the magic. Go check it out on our channel right now. The one you're looking at might even be in the corner bits around here. And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, check out cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.